Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Okay, now children, how are you? Hope everyone is fine. Everyone is doing the work properly. Learning is in full swing. How are you enjoying the pseudocode writing? Is it easy or difficult? Okay. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes difficult. Now, let me give you a tip. What you can do is you can practice. The more you practice, just like math, the better you will be feeling, and you will be able to handle the question that is your scenario-based question. That would be very easy for you to handle. Now, before I move on to this maximum and minimum concept, can you recall the concepts that we have learned in counting and totaling? Are we all clear about the concepts of how to handle the questions that are dealing with counting, or the concepts that are dealing with totaling, finding out the average? Are we okay with them? Any questions, any ambiguity? Okay, that's great. Now, what again I want you to do is keep on practicing, and that will benefit you a lot, inshallah. Moving on to maximum and minimum, what strikes your mind when you talk about this? Highest and lowest, maximum, minimum. Now, you can see one question. Input of daily temperatures for a month is supposed to be taken, assuming the month has 30 days. And after the month is over, we are finding out and outputting the maximum temperature for the whole month. Now, how will you handle this? It's again very simple. The way we have learned the can say the steps of how to handle the counting and the totaling thing. Same goes here. By the way, one thing is, do I need a loop here? Yes, that definitely 30 days. Perfect. That's very great. Do I need any condition checking to be done here? Because it's dealing with maximum, finding out maximum. Yes, definitely. Condition checking is also involved here. Do I need any initializing here? Yes, initializing. But before I show you, can you recall the test data, the term that we have learned? Okay, can you recall that term? What strikes your mind when you hear the term test data? Okay, normal, abnormal, extreme, and boundary. Fine. Okay, now the ones who are a little confused about the term, I request you that go through the videos, and you'll be able to find out there is a video that deals with the test data also. So you can watch it and you'll be able to understand the concept a little better. Now, just remember the way we have talked about the initializing here also, whenever I'm talking about the maximum handling or the minimum handling, I need to have initializing done. But in this case, I am initializing the variable max temp with the least abnormal value. You can see definitely, I think we all can relate to this one, that maximum temperature is never going to be a negative to such a great extent. So what we have done is, remember, we are going to initialize it with the least abnormal value. It can be any value based on different scenarios, but I have taken this here for the reason that minus 999 is something that is definitely non-attainable. We are starting a loop. Since it is mentioned it is going to work for 30 days, that's why the loop is starting from 1 and going on to 30. Moving on to the same output statement for the person to know what he has to enter, and then input is taken. And you can see the input is again taken in a variable that depicts its nature, daily temp. Again, remember the same principle that we take the variables that depicted their nature. Just by looking at them, I'll be able to figure out that what are they meant for. Input is taken in daily temp, and then it's the line that is dealing with the maximum temperature. Be a little careful and you'll be able to understand it very quickly, and you'll be able to remember it also. What are we doing is, we're just checking if max temp, which is in this case minus 999, is less than daily temp. Assume that the person entered 10 degrees as the first value. He entered 10, not degrees. Definitely, that's great. That I had purposely like said it with the purpose that are you able to figure out or not. Definitely, the value that is supposed to be entered in variable daily temp should be an integer. It will not be, or maybe in some cases real also. If I say minus 999 is less than 10, condition is true. So immediately in the first go, the max temp will be holding the daily temp. Clear? I'm repeating. Assume that the first input that is given for the first time when the counter value is 1 was 10. So it was compared at this line, K is minus 999, which is the value for max temp, less than 10. The condition is true. So what happens is immediately the max temp is now going to hold the daily temp value. Clear? Max temp will hold 10. And the next counter will send it back to the variable counter, and now the second value will be input. In this case, now assume the second value input is 12. Okay, when the counter value is 2, next input is taken, and assume that the value entered was 12. Then what will happen is max temp is now holding the value 10, and 10 is less than 12. Again, the condition is true. So in this case, the max temp will no more hold the previous value of 10. It will now hold the value of 12, the new value. In this case, the loop will work 30 times, and once the whole loop is over, it will be holding the maximum temperature that is entered by the user for the whole month. Are you clear? Are you clear with this thing, with this concept? I think it's very simple. Again, I can apply it on maybe hourly temperature. I can apply it on anything. Just think maybe it's okay. Now, very nice that you have raised this concern. I can even use the same structure even for working on the maximum temperature for a day also. Maybe what was maximum temperature on the for a day. But what will be the change in this case? For example, I want to find out that out of those the whole day, what is the maximum temperature? Will be the change? Very quick, please. That's great. Since it will be working for 24 times because of an hourly temperature input taken. That is why the change will be that you will be, apart from mentioning a few output messages, the loop will now work for 24 times and not 30 times. The same can be applicable for the year also. That's great, wonderful. Then you can do it this way also. Now, are we clear with this concept of how the maximum temperature is being handled? And once the thing is over, you can see once the loop gets over, then it will be the last line that will be can say executed, and it will be outputting the maximum temperature with the message maximum temperature is, and once the loop gets over, the max temp variable will be holding the maximum temperature. So it will be displayed. It will be displayed. Okay, I have, you can say I was expecting someone to ask that, is there anything that is new to you? You have never experienced before. You've never seen before. Okay, that's great. The if line seems to be a little different. We have been handling it in, you can say, very correct that you have seen something different in this if line. Please note it down. In case you have only one thing to be done, if the condition is true, and you are only handling the condition to be true, you are not handling anything dealing with the false situation, then it is completely allowed that you can write if in the same line. Even some programming languages also give you this facility where you can write it in the same line. So you can see this is something, again, I'm repeating, you need to remember if condition, if it's using only one thing to be, one condition is being checked, definitely you all know condition always means 3 things to be checked. Max temperature to be compared with daily temp and the operator here. But there's only one thing that is supposed to be done, and that is max temp the temp will be holding daily temp. So you can write it in the same line. And one more thing is, in reality, there's no need to write end if here. I mean, if you don't write end if, still that will be considered as a perfect answer. Now, I have written it in a different style. What is the difference that you can observe in the two? That's great. You can observe that loop is the same. Again, 30 times input is taken, but the only change is in the first example, in the first method, we have used max temp in earlier, and daily temp is written later, and there is a less than sign. On the contrary, if I talk about the next one, where daily temp is written earlier and max temp is written later, and the sign has changed, now it is the greater than symbol. That is the only change. So just remember, if you are handling max temp in the beginning, that's perfectly okay. But that's perfectly okay. In both cases, the working will be same, but up to you. But once, if you are writing max temp later, and daily temp is going to be written first, then there will be the change of the symbol. The comparison will be done using the greater than symbol. All other things remain same. Any further questions, any ambiguity regarding this concept? Okay, none, that's great. Now let's move on to another concept that I talked about, and that is the minimum. Again, I have to take input of the daily temperatures for a month. Okay, now just for the purpose of simplicity, I have placed them separately, but you may get such questions where even for the debugging, that you can be asked to debug the errors. And in this case, most of the time in the debugging questions, you have both to be handled together. So at input of daily temperatures for a month, you have to assume that the month has 30 days. For an output, the minimum temperature. Now, what you can see here is the same concept that we are going to initialize minimum temp, min temp, the variable, with the highest abnormal value. Again, remember, it's going to be done in the reverse way. Minimum will be initialized with the highest abnormal, and maximum will be initialized with the least abnormal. Remember the abnormal values. Again, the loop will iterate. The loop will work. The loop will iterate 30 times because of 30 values. Again, you are taking the input, and you can see the if line. If min temp is greater than daily temp, then min temp equals to daily temp. I'm taking the same example of 10 and 12. Assume that the first input was 10. Min temp was holding 999. 999 is greater than 10. Condition is true or false? Condition is true. So in the first instance, the very first time, what will happen is, since min temp is 999, it is bigger than daily temp, which is 10. So immediately the min temp will hold the daily temp value, and that is going to be 10. And then the second input taken, again, the same example as I quoted earlier. Assume that the second input was 12. So now it will be compared. Minimum temperature is now no more holding 999. It is now holding the first input given by the user. And it will be, min temp is now 10. 10 is greater than 12. Is the condition true here? No, the condition is not true. So it will definitely not change the min temp, and will move down and take the third input. So in this manner, the number of times the loop is going to work will be 30. And once the loop is over, then the min temp variable will be holding the minimum temperature for the whole month. And then you will be using output statements to output the minimum temperature. Are you clear? Any questions, any ambiguity? Now you can see we have written minimum temperature, handling minimum temperature in a different style. Again, the same thing. We are, in the first example, we wrote min temp earlier and daily temp later. In the second one, the daily temp is written first and min temp is later. No worries at all. The work will remain same, and you will be comparing the two values. Again, you can see the change, or the change of the positions has resulted in the change of the symbol also. So daily temp is less than the minimum temperature. Again, if I take the same example, 10 is less than 999. Condition true. So minimum temperature will be actually storing the newer value, that is no more 999, but 10 that is given as input by the user. And once the loop gets over, 30 times the loop is going to work, and then the output is going to be for the minimum temperature, whatever the minimum temperature is for the whole month. Any questions, any ambiguity? Okay, now let me tell you one thing. There's one more method that we can, like, there are different strategies, different ways of doing the same. And if all the methods are correct, then we are going to assume that to be a correct answer. Now, one more method is there. I'm not mentioning it right now just to keep it simple for you people. Just work with one so that you are okay with the handling of how to handle such questions. Are we ready for an assignment? Okay, this is the assignment. Let's see how quickly we are able to do it. Write an algorithm using pseudocode, which inputs marks of 50 students, assuming the paper was of 75 marks, outputs the highest and the outputs the maximum and the minimum marks, or you can say the highest and the lowest marks. Now I'm giving you 5 minutes. Very quickly do it, and we will compare our answers then. Your time starts now. Okay, I hope that you all are able to figure out how the work will be done. Hence, I hope that some of you have already started doing the work. We need initializing, we need a loop. We are going to check the conditions, and remember here we are going to use preferred is definitely you're going to use the same loop for both handling of maximum and minimum. And once the loop gets over, then you're going to output the maximum or the minimum marks. Just try it out. Inshallah, you will be successful. Okay, now I hope that we are done with some part of the work. Again, you can see, okay, now just remember one thing. Your variables may be a little bit different from the variable that I have mentioned, but remember, you are going to use the same variable. Again, you can see highest or maximum or any variable that you have taken. Someone can say max marks, someone can say maximum, another person can say max, any variable will do. But remember, you're going to use the same variable throughout. Now, this is highest initialized with the least abnormal value 0. And please remember, 0 is non-attainable in our exams. Lowest will be 999. Again, if you recall, that this is what we have already covered in detail whenever we were doing the test data. So highest is 0 and lowest is 999 abnormal values. Loop will be 50 times because there are 50 students. Inside this, we are taking input of the marks. And again, one thing that you can observe is just to make the things a little more user-friendly, I have used after output enter marks of student, comma, counter. So if the first two students' marks are being taken input, then it will be enter marks of student 1. In this manner, you will keep on getting the message that which student's mark is being entered by the user. After that, input marks. And now we are comparing if highest. Assume that first input was 55. If highest, which is 0, is less than 55, which is definitely going to be the situation true, then highest will be holding the value of marks. Similarly, the same value of 55 will now be compared with lowest. Lowest is 999 is greater than 55. Again, the condition is true. So the value of lowest will also be holding the marks input by the user. It means that once the loop is like taking the input for the first time, the highest will be holding the marks input by the user, the lowest will be holding the input of the marks, and the loop will iterate 50 times in the same manner. Are you clear? The same concept, but only the change is there we were handling it separately. That's why we handled it in separate lines. Now it is going to be in different lines. And like we are doing using the same loop for handling all the concepts, both the concepts of maximum and minimum. And once the loop gets over, then output of the highest marks and the lowest marks. Any ambiguity, any questions? Great. Are we ready for the next assignment? Now, assignment 2 is write an algorithm using pseudocode which inputs 3 numbers and outputs the largest of the 3 numbers. Now, this is something that you need to see, largest. And there are 3 numbers input by the user. Is there anything that's striking your mind? Again, it is dealing with maximum. But in this case, we are going to handle it a little bit differently. Again, I have given you different flavors, so you can see that how the work will be done. I mean, that is not a preferred thing to do, this question with the handling of maximum and minimum the way we have done, because it's only 3 values. So we can handle it just with an if. Again, you can see input is taken. I have taken input together perfectly. Okay, I can ask the person to input 3 values, first, second, and third. If first is greater than second and first is greater than third, please see the and is the operator that we have used, and we have taken the option of checking 2 conditions. If the value that is input by the user as the first value and is greater than second value, and the value input as the first value is greater than third value, then it means definitely the first number is the highest number. And then I have a message for the user, output first, whatever the value is the highest number. Else if. Now, up till now, we have been doing else if perfectly okay, but this is something that we call as nested if inside if. Actually, we need to, we will be, if you have any queries, then you can see the concepts again that are being handled as nested if or nested loop or nested condition checking statements. So that these are also available. So you can watch the videos and you'll be able to figure out what do we mean by this. Else, and then we have another if in a second line, in another line. Please be careful. It's not else if together, it's after else, we are moving on to the next line, and when now we are checking the value of second. If second is greater than first and second is greater than third, means that whichever input was given as a second input, if it's greater than first value, and if the second value that was input was greater than the third value, then output second is the highest number. Else, now we are going with another if third is greater than first and third is greater than second, then output third is the highest number. And again, you can see, since I have used 3if, so that is, I can see there are 3 end ifs, just like your closing and the opening brackets. Assume them as just like you're closing and the opening brackets. So you are going to open, if you have opened if thrice, then you have to close it thrice by using end if. Please be cautious so that you are able to remember this. Remember, if you have worked with 3if, then there will be 3 end ifs. And one more thing is, again, the placement, one after the other. The third if, its end if is in the is going to be closed first. Then second if will be, its end if is going to be closed second, and the last if is the top one. It's closed with the last end if. I hope that it's very much clear to all of us. It's a little bit different. I would have done it again. I'm saying I could have done it with else if also. That's perfectly okay. Fine. Some student may have done it with the maximum that we have done, but this is also a better strategy where we are using if, and definitely, since there are 2 values, if there were 2 values, it would have been handled with if else very easily. But since there are 3 values, and I'm going to use if and then else and then if. Clear to every one of us? Okay, now that's great. Jazakallahu khairan kaseera. If you have liked my videos, then please subscribe my channel and share the videos with your friends and family, so they all are going to benefit from my videos. Stay tuned, because more videos regarding the topics that I have talked about regarding the nested loop will be coming soon. Till the next time, Allah Hafiz. Keep me in your prayers and keep on working. Best of luck to every one of us. Allah Hafiz.